As we inch closer to the start of Media Day and training camp for the Sixers ahead of their Abu Dhabi games, we're going to talk about which side of the floor is going to drive winning. We'll do so today here on the PHLY Sixers podcast live from the Xfinity Lounge. We are back in studio. Derek, Kyle, I'm Devon Bree, the president of Basketball Ops, just keeping us in line here to make sure we talk about all of these things, maybe some news and notes a little bit later on. But first, we also have to tell you that we're presented by Rothman Orthopedics. Visit rothmanortho.com/PHLY. And Ford, it's Ford tough. 48 years. Visit your local Ford store.
That's right.
That's right. You got to get in that nice vehicle. Nice out today.
Very nice. I mean, this whole
Roll the
week
windows
has just
down.
been absolutely magnificent weather-wise. So we're probably due for two of the worst stinkers of days you've
good
ever
news.
seen in
It
your life.
doesn't rain on the East Coast anymore. So,
That's a good thing.
oh well,
Ah,
short term maybe.
are we
Sometimes.
sure about
There
that?
might, there might be some long term consequences of that one. But yes,
Sometimes. All right, folks, we got to talk about what's going to drive winning. What's going to drive success for this basketball team? If you are to assume that you're going to get a decent amount of Embiid games after everybody being excited about the 6-second clip that the Sixers dropped
Including
and
us.
teased, including us on Tuesday night, and Paul George lifting weights, even though he can't put any weight on those knees or whatever he had lower body surgery for. But
Knee confirmed.
there you go. Knee confirmed. So, but we can discuss overall ahead of the season what things could look like defensively, offensively, and what is going to really push their winning ways and getting back into the win column far more than they did a season ago. So Bree had looked at some numbers from last season, and it wasn't good. If you kind of guessed it, you were right.
stunningly,
No.
a 24-win team
Here we
was
go.
not all that good.
Offensive rating a season ago was 22nd in the league at just under 112 points. But their defense, without Embiid for a ton of those games, they gave up 118.2 points per game. I mean, that's the 118.2 per, and that's good for 26 out of 30 in the league. So clearly we already knew. We watched
Bottom
them.
10 in both, baby.
It wasn't very
A
good.
beautiful tank job, if I
Wasn't
do say so
very
myself.
good. But we've seen better from this basketball team in the past, in the years before, where they had some pretty good numbers where they ranked in the top 10, they ranked in the top 15, et cetera. We'll look at that a little bit later. But just to start it off, Kyle, defense, offense, if you had to look at it right now, there's always the Embiid lineups and the non-Embiid lineups. But with the athleticism that they wanted to focus on in the offseason, the youthful wings and length and all of that the front office wanted to focus on, I'd imagine that was also part of their thinking, that we have to be able to be versatile on both ends of the floor, get stops and score the basketball, get out in transition and run. But what's going to drive winning?
So I think by default, if you just think about who's on the team, how old they are, and what was the Brett Brownism, Derek, that he used to say, you can't expedite someone's birth certificate,
yep,
which is such a amalgamation of like 4 different phrases together, right? But the heart of it is someone's age and inexperience is not something you can just snap your fingers and that's magically changed, right? And so because of that, I think you have to say the offense is where they're going to make their money, right? Because if you're dealing with a top 5 pick, even a top 5 pick that we feel good about defensively, and Jared McCain, who's got defensive question marks, Justin Edwards, who's in year 2 and had some moments defensively, but is still a ways away from being a regular solid defender. Maxey took a step forward, but is still not like an upper echelon guy there. Like, there are just lots of these guys that they will be counting on who, in many cases, through no fault of their own, are just not going to be that good defensively, right? Whether it's inexperience, whether it's size, lineup combinations, whatever it might be. I think there's probably a cap on how good they can be on defense. Now, offensively, I think they have a ton of firepower, right? I think that some of that is theoretical because we don't know what they're going to get health-wise from Joel. We don't know what Paul George is going to look like. But just having Maxey and McCain alone, right? Mm-hmm. 2 dynamic shooters that those guys are threats to hit from anywhere, shoot in any type of action, off the dribble, spot up, relocate, movement, whatever it might be. when you start with those two as two focal points, you inject an athletic cutter and finisher, ball handler and Edgecombe. You have some of Paul George. You have some of Joel Embiid. I just think they'll have a good offense as long as they're healthy, and that's going to be how they're going to have to beat teams. Even last year when things were an absolute mess, right? They had nights where Maxey and McCain played, and they're putting up big numbers against Cleveland, who's an elite two-way team, right? That they can go out there and score. I'm not, in theory, all that worried about their ability to score because of the depth and youth they have this year. The other side of the ball is a much bigger question, because I think that's where you really need Joel Embiid to be the anchor and the guy who kind of props everybody up. That's what the idea of the team rests on, is like, we can score points and we don't need Joel to score 30 each and every night. You do probably need him to play, if not elite rim defense, at least very good rim defense. So I think offense is where you have to start, and you hope that everything else solidifies with Jared McCain's not going to become a lockdown defender over the course of this season. But if they come to an understanding, if they build the chemistry, if they just know they're in the right spots and we feel good about everyone's instincts in that way, they can get to a level on defense that allows that offense to drive them to winning. That's kind of where I'm coming into the year.
Yeah, I think offense is the safer pick for sure. I think historically defense is where we would have gone, with the exception of maybe the James Harden years. But for the most part, I think defense is where you go, like, I expect them, just because of Joel Embiid's presence, and certainly during the Ben years because of Ben too, I expect them to be a top 10, probably even a top 5 defense. Like, that was sort of the expectation you had set.
It's crazy how much we took that for granted, by the way. Because now looking back, I'm like, God, I wish this team could defend like that. I enjoy watching those guys on that end of the floor.
And a lot of this comes back to, like, what can you actually expect out of Joel Embiid? Because the lasting impression I have in my mind is the Joel Embiid of January, where he looked like he couldn't defend in space at all, where he was slow to change direction, where he was constantly out of position. But I do think if you go back and you remember what, like, those rare instances, especially in December, right, when they had that run where they were playing well. But overall on the season, the team was 9 points per 100 possessions better defensively with Joel Embiid on the floor, and that's even when he was a shell of himself in January before being shut down. So really, like, if you tell me that Joel Embiid is going to be on the floor consistently and back to where he was before January of last year, you could make a case they could end up being a better defensive team than offensive team. With Joel, with Paul, with Kelly, with Adem as a backup, if Nick Nurse ends up playing him instead of Drummond, you certainly have pieces that you can build a defense. But if Joel is either not on the floor consistently or looks like he did in January before getting shut down, you could end up with a pretty poor defensive performance again. So I think offense is probably the safer bet, because there is a lot of firepower there. And like, so much of this rests, all right, well, if Joel Embiid's healthy and on the floor consistently and looks even like a facsimile of his previous self, you could have a really good defense. Well, that holds up for offense as well. If Joel's on the floor and he's looking good, well, all of a sudden then Paul George slides in that third role pretty naturally. You've got McCain, you've got Tyrese, VJ can come along slowly. So every argument I would make for why they could end up being a good defensive team, you can make that same argument for the offense as well, except the offense isn't nearly as reliant on Joel as the defense is. So I think, offense is the answer I would give on this as well. I have more confidence. I think there's a higher baseline. I think there's more scenarios that can play out where you would have at least a capable, I don't think anyone's necessarily talking about like a top 5 offense here, but a more capable offense without Joel Embiid. And because of that, I think that's the answer.
My question is, because I agree with you both that the offense is the easy part. Even when they were bad, there were nights where they really struggled to put points on the board because you had different guys on 10-day contracts and so many guys playing on two-way deals that are just playing up a level.
And the first half of the season was wild because, like, Paul George just couldn't shoot the first half. And Tyrese couldn't shoot for a good stretch of the season. The guys that you relied on to shoot were all cold at the exact same time.
And even when Quentin Grimes got there, you saw that he could score and they could put up a lot of points, but they couldn't stop anyone.
Quentin who?
Exactly.
They don't have anyone on the roster named Quentin Grimes.
My bad. You're right. He just number 5. But my thing is this.
Come on, Quentin. We need to fill a show. Come on.
Well, it's getting closer now. He might as well wait. We're good at this point. My thing is this. Because of the fact that Nick Nurse is now seeing Joel Embiid out of the lineup for the second half of his first season coaching, a really good portion, and basically, 70 games of 73 games of him not being on the floor, that he understands what that looks like as well, or 60 plus, that he has to, and I think he does, but he needs the other guys to be healthy and available too. What is he going to have out there on the floor, and how is he going to devise those defenses without Joel Embiid now? Because we've seen enough where we have a sample size of him being on the floor versus not being on the floor. You laid out the numbers of when he is on the floor versus the difference when he's not. Well, we saw where he was out there, he was off the floor more than he was on it, and the defense has to be driven that way. He's not going to, there's nobody else coming in off the bench to do what he does in Drummond or Bona or any of the other big men that they do have coming off the bench to take his spot at the 5. So how are they going to defense? How different is that going to look as a defense when he is out there, when he is not out there on the floor? So my question is, what kind of defense are they going to run? Are they going to implement into things when he is not there to make sure that they are successful as a defense, where they do secure those defensive rebounds, where they do close out a certain way on the perimeter to prevent the other team from scoring? So that's going to be my question, because the points are going to be scored. Like we've talked about. Joel, you can probably just go out there and average 25 and you're good. And make sure you defend and rebound, and make sure that you guys have more opportunities to get more possessions on offense, to get out in transition, and to run those half-court sets very efficiently. But defensively, when he's not out there, what is it going to look like? Andre Drummond is not going to be one that's going to slow down a lot of defense. There's not a lot of rim protection there. Bona is very jumpy still, even though that we like the possibility of him being that type of player. He is still one that will bite on fakes and so on and so forth. We saw a better version of it at the end of the year, but can we see that consistently when he's playing 70 plus games possibly, and then consistently 20 minutes as a standard NBA player going forward? I don't know that. So Oubre, George, VJ Edgecombe, the players that you've talked about, the guys that you've talked about, Kelly Oubre being able to defend a lot of positions out there, where's the help going to come from everybody else? Maxey and McCain are going to give that effort. We know that. There's a lot that's going to be taken away because they're going to target those players. But Watford, we talk about him on offense. That's going to be another key to what they do. That's probably pretty fun. But when he does get out there, the slow moving things that he the slow footing and all, that's not going to change. He's still not a great defender, but can he be a good help team defender out there on the floor this coming season? And some of the others that we don't yet know what it's going to look like, can that defense be collectively as a team, can they be good enough to slow some of that stuff down and then make a difference when they go on the other end? Because that's what I want to see. I want to see what it's going to look like when Embiid is not on the floor. I have an idea, and if he adjusts to the knee issues and plays a certain way and make sure that he's still that really good and orchestrating things from the back end. Bona talked about it last season. He's the last line of defense. He has to be really communicating to everybody else what's going on. All right, so what's it going to look like, and can they get stops and secure rebounds? Because we've talked about it a ton. They've had issues rebounding the basketball.
And it's still a glaring
Sixer
concern.
fans are upset, like, hey, who's going to rebound the ball? Well, part of defense is also rebounding, where you get the stop, reward yourself by getting that, and now going the other way.
Yeah, and if you just think about, I'm operating under the assumption that while I don't think Nick Nurse will go in with an identical game plan this year, he's not going to just suddenly become a different coach philosophically, right? Offense will largely be, he wants quick decisions and the offense to be pretty simple, right? And he's not alone on that front, right? That's kind of the Mike D'Antoni school of thought. Read, react, move the ball, make a decision, and don't overcomplicate it. Let your talent shine through. And it didn't work last year because they didn't have enough offensive talent, right? They didn't have enough creators. Now this season, when you presumably get a healthy Jared McCain season, you have Maxey again, you have VJ Edgecombe, you have more of Joel Embiid, you have hopefully a better and healthier Paul George, and you still have a little bit of self-creation from a Kelly Oubre. You bring in Trendon Watford, who we have talked a little bit about. We're interested in the fit and, how do they use him, but certainly someone who can put it on the deck and play make and do a little bit of scoring on his own. Like the style that Nick Nurse wants to play matches this roster a little better, right? Because last year you have guys like Caleb Martin in the rotation where his whole thing is you really just don't want him doing much of anything. You want him to be you kind of stand there and you cut off ball, but mostly you want him as the solid and stable defensive type of guy. And
the
even
guy
bring up Quentin Grimes,
Yeah.
by the way. And Quentin Grimes, while he is a 3-and-D player prior to coming here, showed you he's got more than that in the bag, right? So if you're asking him, hey, you're not the point guard, but we're asking you to run the offense a little bit, he fits in that kind of read and react style. And we saw that in the stretch of games he played here last year. So they just have a lot of guys now who I have criticized it's just, one DHO and then somebody has to go make something happen.
There's a lot of that.
Offense. And we don't want to see that this year. But let's say they do run stretches of time where that's just kind of it, right? It's very basic dribble weaves and read the floor, read your man. They just have more guys who can succeed in that type of style now, right? They have the same guys that were good at it last year, but the other secondary pieces, their biggest draft pick, like all those guys make sense in that style. So just kind of by default, they should get better. And then you add on, this will be year 2 for Jared McCain playing this type of offense. Maxey has another year under his belt. Like the guys who are incumbents, the guys who are kind of driving the team should be better just by hey, I've seen this before. I know what I'm looking for. I know where my reads are. I think that should get better just kind of naturally.
All right, we're going to take our first pause here, and when we come back, I want to ask each of you and everybody in the chat there as well, just simply, I'll do the defense first on the other side. I'll ask you guys this. Who would be the X factor to maybe be a real catalyst to the success? Outside of Joel, we already know, but who would be a real catalyst?
2 names in mind.
That would kind of, again, someone who could really drive that winning that we said at the top of the show. On the defensive side, I saw somebody say that in the chat. I was trying to find it to say the X factor. I was going to ask this question anyway, but I wanted to give the credit to the X factor question. I'll make sure I scroll through here and find that for when we do, in fact, get back. But with it, it was actually Sean. Yes, Sean Ford asked the question. Said, Bona is Sean's, so we'll ask the guys, we'll get everybody else's as we keep going. X factor for defense, non-Joel, when we get back right here as we come to you live from the Xfinity Lounge on this Thursday. Success, offense, defense, what's going to drive the winning, but who's your X factor on the defensive side when we get back here on the PHLY Sixers podcast presented by, we got Rothman, and Kyle's going to tell you about another one shortly.
And guys, basketball season is right around the corner, and you want to be prepared. You don't want to go to a friend's house to watch the game, and their setup is just a disaster. Whether it's lagging, or it's buffering, or they're trying to switch apps, or maybe the TV's not working. Who knows? But anyone who's claiming they're a big fan and they end up being a big fail, you cannot have that happen. Because if you call yourself a basketball fan, you have to have Xfinity. It's the ultimate sports destination. You can find all the games and your favorite teams all in one place. And the way that you watch, it's next level. You've got all the action right in your living room, plus Xfinity's best picture and sound with enhanced 4K. It's so clear that it feels like you're in the arena. Sometimes you can have up to 4 games going at once, because we all have a lot to keep up on, and basketball's just great. On top of that, you get real-time notifications and live stats right on your TV. It's the best seat in the house every time. Next game, make sure that big fan isn't a big fail. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Restrictions apply. Multi-view requires Xfinity 4K capable TV box.
Of course, guys, we also got to tell you about the legendary Ford F-Series, the best-selling trucks in America for 48 straight years. Thank you, Devon, for the assist. As always, the F-150 blends work-ready toughness with modern-day tech and luxury. Of course, it also offers 6 different powertrain options, including a hybrid and a fully electric Lightning model. So there's a little something for everybody, right? The 3.5-liter hybrid V6 power boost gives you 430 horsepower and amazing towing capacity. How much towing capacity, you ask? Up to 14,000 pounds, depending on the configuration. Whatever you got to throw in the back of that F-150, could be work supplies, it could be all your stuff for family vacation, whatever you might need to haul around, the Ford F-Series has your back. It's also made out of military-grade aluminum alloy, tough, lightweight, corrosion-resistant. So when you're taking it off-road, which, by the way, they have a special off-road package. You get skid plates, off-road tuned shocks, E-locking rear differential, regular super cab and super crew cab options, plus different bed lengths to fit your needs. They have thought of everything inside, outside. So for more information, visit your local Ford store.
Welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast here, and we want to tell you about Big Brothers Big Sisters, the month of giving. Make sure you've heard us talking about it all last week and again this week. We want to get people to sign up to become big. So if you have the time, number one, in your life, and you're able to go out there and do that, lend a hand and try to help out as best as you can for someone who would like to be, right there along with you and seeing how things are done on a daily basis, and you can have those conversations, teach them some things, maybe go to a gym and shoot some baskets. You see the photo that Bree had up with the football out there on the football field, just throwing around and having some meaningful conversations about life, etc. Well, becoming a big is how you do so. So for you to do that, bbbs.org is where you can go to sign up. You can go to allphly.com to check it out as well if it's easier for you. As far as the donations go, there is still an opportunity for you on our YouTube page as the show's going on. Right underneath the chat, you can see the donate button. Bang, as we try to reach our goal for $50,000 for the month of September, you can donate there. So it's the month of giving. Once again, last week we focused on those donations, and this week we like to talk about you signing up to become a big. The mentor movement has persisted for more than 120 years. During Big Brothers Big Sisters month, they celebrate matches at every stage. Join the mentorship movement this BBBS month and help create more moments of impact that will last a lifetime. Those memories go a long way. So once again, sign up, bbbs.org, if you are able to do so, or at least go look at the literature and see what it entails. And if it's of interest to you, maybe you don't have the time, but someone you know in your life does, has talked about something like this and they want to get involved. bbbs.org to become big. Welcome back to the show. I want to say also that Winona said in the chat that it was a conversation that her and Sean were having in there about the X Factor. So she was also on the same page. So I give Winona a shout out there for that as well. But to start it off, I know you said you had two. Do you have X Factor defensively?
For the defensive end, specifically, we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think there's one really obvious one, and that's Adem Bona. Like, we know that Joel Embiid is going to be, you can't rely on him being there every night. We know Andre Drummond can't. If he can step up and be an impact defender, that solves a lot of your questions.
Yeah.
And part of that is going to be like, has he developed enough offensively where you can play him 25, 30 minutes on nights when Joel is out? Part of it is also like, has his defensive decision-making, whether that's chasing block attempts, whether that's staying out of foul trouble, can he fill those minutes? And if he can, and look, I was impressed with the growth that Adem made last year. I think he has a chance to step into a much larger role. If he does that, then trying to build a defense around that, at least a capable defense, becomes a heck of a lot easier.
Yeah. I think what we're going to go through this year with Adem is a very classic. Last year, everyone who's kept up with the team, which was not a ton of people by the end of the season, but everyone who kept up with the team could point to Adem and say, I can see tangible growth. Like, I'd see him better on offense. He had some games that defensively, he kept the fouls down, he's blocking shots, he even did some good rebounding. And that was a really nice thing in the midst of, boy, they're just losing every single night. But now the question becomes not just, hey, are you getting better in a meaningless stretch of the year? It's, are you good enough to help drive winning? Right? That is the hurdle he now has to clear, right? Because I'm not saying it's easy to improve as an NBA player in a situation where you're getting the ball passed to you by guys who can't pass and you have no spacing and whatnot. Like, he deserves a lot of credit for what he has done to control his own improvement. But now more of the focus will be, hey, they have all the guys are here. They got the number 3 pick. Joel will hopefully be more healthy. PG will play better. Like, you'll be in a context that is better for you to try to win. Now what you do can't just be, hey, look, that was a nice Adembona line after the game. It's those fouls are meaningful in meaningful moments in
100%.
games. They can't, when you lose minutes, if you only play 15 minutes and you sub in, if the team loses those minutes by 8 points, now a lot more people are focused on that rather than, hey, he looks better in dribble handoffs. Hey, he looks better in pick and rolls and as a vertical rim threat. And he made some free throws tonight. Like, you focus not so much on the individual stuff as how the team operates around him. And so when he has talked about, hey, I'm trying to get better at the communication on the back line and organizing everybody, like those things will matter a lot more this year, both for how he is coached and how many minutes he gets, but also I think his perception with the fan base and the public. And like that's just part of it, right? It's the nature of going from a horrible year to hopefully a better one. But then the other obvious one, I think, is VJ Edgecombe, right? And it's not because I expect a rookie to come in and flip the defense, right? You're not going from 26th or whatever it was, is admittedly probably worse than they were in reality just because so much of the year was spent on 10-day and G League guys and what have you. But VJ also really fits with the way Nick Nurse wants to play defense, right? They want aggressive, ball hawking. We want to turn teams over and we want to run. And with his legs and his instincts, his closing speed, right? He certainly will get punished at times for gambling and over pursuit and the things that young defenders do. He's also going to screw some stuff up for opposing teams, right? He will turn teams over. He will generate steals. And then he will be the guy who is either the guy with the ball in his hands, taking it coast to coast, or he's the partner for Maxey or McCain in transition. We're out and running. We're going to score on a lob. I'm going to flash out to the three-point line, create some space, whatever it might be. I think he's a big X factor for sure. I just think if he's not good defensively right away, we're probably not scrutinizing it as much just because he's a rookie and nobody expects rookies to come in right away.
You can just overcome that. Like, he would be a great boost because like most of your good perimeter defenders are more like 3-4 types. Well, Kelly can defend really 1 through 3 pretty effortlessly.
Yeah.
But you
even
can
some
really,
fours too with the way
some
the lineups.
Fours, And Paul can defend 3-4s well, and he's certainly a steal machine. But VJ would give you another dynamic, in terms of like another real perimeter ball handler, whereas like a lot of your perimeter defender, where a lot of your perimeter defenders are a little bit weak, specifically Maxey and McCain, but also just another real, like he will force turnovers, he will get you out on the break, all that will be helpful, but it's just not as transformative. A, the expectations aren't as high because it's the first year player, and B, the impact is just not as transformative as a big man who can protect the rim.
Yeah.
So part of of course, Bona and Edgecombe, I think the communication is key when they're out there, and that's why he does have to get better. He does have to get louder. He does have to be demanding on that back end. It's also about the lineups that's around him, too, because if we just talk about slow-footed Trendon Watford, maybe he'll come in and surprises, and he's much better than I've seen him in the past in both Portland and Brooklyn. But that's one. If Edgecombe is out there, if it's Kelly Oubre out there, and Paul George out there with a Dembona, that helps out so much when you're out there on the floor because of who
Dusty
you have
in the studio,
out there
man.
with you. Yes, because of who you do have out there with you. That goes a long way. And not just the communication that he has to have, it's also just being able to communicate with some people that have some real chops on the defensive end where they can have that success. Mm-hmm. You have to have some guys out there who can just simply play defense with you for it to be successful.
Yep. Yeah. No, I mean, VJ popping early would be great.
That would be great. That would be great.
And I think he's going to pop early because he'll make plays that are wow plays.
It's a consistency thing.
Yes.
It's a trust thing. It's a being in the right spot thing.
Well, and look, here's some of it too. Some of it will be conditioning. Like VJ is in very good shape for a player of his age, right? Like takes care of his body.
We just talked about the muscle he added.
Yep. But he, in summer league games, and we've talked about it with him in Vegas. He's like, I'm tired, man. Like, I'm playing a lot of minutes. And that's the rookie wall thing too, right? These guys go from the most games that they probably have ever played in a season, mid 30s or low 30s, you're hitting that by like end of December, early January, and you have 50 plus games, 50-ish games to go after that, right? So the wear and tear.
50 plus the playoffs.
Wow. I'm taking nothing for granted going into the year. But yeah, that's the thing, right? It's like he can come in and look like a bat out of hell, right? Where he's just flying all over the floor. And I think he knows that that's going to be his path to playing time initially, is this can separate me from a Jared. This can separate me from some of these other guys. But ultimately, you can't play 82 games like that for the most part. So I think managing the how hard can I redline it early in the season and throughout the season, it's also going to be a learning process for him.
Yeah, because that learning curve, when we look at a Dembona speaking about being jumpy and, you know, being patient, staying on the floor and all, he picks up his fouls in certain ways. Now, when VJ Edgecombe is out there, and if he comes out, to your point, as a bat out of hell, and he's just really good defensively, he's got to also learn to pace himself, because they're going to need him on the offensive end. When you do get an opportunity to run in transition, you're going to want to run too.
Yeah.
So you have to pace yourself. And then if you get tired, you can't resort to reaching, because you get tired. You're on the defensive end. That one step can make a difference. And boom, here he is reaching in. You talked about the Simmons factor, where he was so elite as a defender. Now some things have gotten his way later in his career, and he resorts to, well, now I'm
it's
just
a lot
reaching.
more reaching.
Yeah, exactly.
Slapping down.
That happens for young people too, when they try to figure out the game, because of how
the speed
fast
of the
it
game,
is.
for sure.
When it's coming from college to the NBA, it's much different. Now he does have summer league, and he certainly has the Olympic play with some pros, but now we're talking 82. And now we're talking, you're going to play a lot of minutes. You're going to be out there a lot of time, and there's 82 basketball games in a regular season. So that pace is going to be important, of knowing when to.
It's a minor breaking news.
Dial it back a little bit, but also turn it up again when it needs to be. Is that worthy of now, or is that?
Yeah, it's just a quick. Landry Shamet has agreed to a 1-year deal to return to the Knicks. So
use the shooting.
Not a whole lot of commentary to offer on that one, but just thought I'd throw it out there since it.
Ben Simmons out now in New York, because that was the final roster spot. I think that was the final roster spot.
Well, I trust you as our Knicks correspondent. So
give me a microphone, then I'll let you know.
Oh my
you got
goodness.
it. All right, final break. We come back. X Factor on the offensive side. All right, we'll do that when we get back, right here on your favorite. The only place you can go for Sixers conversation is the PHLY Sixers podcast. All right, team. It's getting chilly out now. It's a good day today, you know, it's all, but sorry, Derek. Seems like the summer's just coming to a close, and with that, see, summer's
still
over.
got 10 days.
You
Leave me alone.
You can't hide anymore those injuries that you've been just masking, rubbing some dirt on, get some ointment, and putting some of that on there to say, I'm good. We're going on this vacation. I'm not letting this get in the way. Well, now you got to address it. You've put it off far too long. Now you got to go to Rothman Orthopedics and make sure that you get it checked out. Maybe it's not really severe, but something that you don't want lingering and getting worse and worse and worse as the time passes by. And that's what Rothman Orthopedics does, in fact, come in there. We've all been there, trying to power through it all, because we're all tough and we don't need to go to the doctors. But guess what? Yeah, you're tough, but you still need to go to the doctor. So go get it done. Go check out our good people. That's why we trust Rothman Orthopedics. And Rothman, 180 plus fellowship-trained physicians specializing in specific areas of the body, and a multitude of orthopedic services that includes hip, knee, shoulder, spine, elbow, wrist, foot, ankle, hand, all of that stuff, sports medicine, physical medicine, rehab, orthopedic oncology, trauma and fracture care, so much more. You have it. They've probably addressed it and taken care of it and gotten people back to their everyday normal life where they can move around the way that they want to. So if pain is slowing you down, whether it's summer leading into fall or fall leading into winter, you got to take that first step. Head to rothmanortho.com/PHLY and schedule your appointment today. Rothman Orthopedics, your summer leading into your fall, your mobility, their mission.
And guys, if you're like me, you've probably got a long list of home repair and to-do stuff before the cold winter gets here.
Put it off in the summer. There you go.
I
put it off.
I wouldn't say I intentionally put it off. That's just my personality.
Derek tries to think as little about the winter as he can until the winter is here.
But I was actually just out there cleaning my back deck, doing a little power washing today. If you've got a lot on your to-do list Ace Hardware Home Services is a place that can help you get it done. If you've got an outlet that you said you would fix last summer, at Ace Hardware Home Services, they've got the person to fix that. Because now they're not just the helpful hardware folks, they're also the helpful home service and repair folks. From plumbing and electrical to heating and cooling, they've got the trusted pros to keep your home humming all year long. Ace Hardware Home Services. They're bringing the helpful home, the helpful you love, from the store now to your front door, from Philly to the Jersey Shore. Visit Ace Hardware Home Services online at acehardwarehomeservices.com to get you started on your next project.
All right, welcome back to the PHLY Sixers podcast. We do have to tell you about something new here at PHLY, and that is the Supporters Club, everybody. We rolled it out earlier in the week. On YouTube, it is Supporters Club. We have 2 tiers, $4.99 and $14.99. And with your membership, you get unique behind-the-scenes footage every week. We did ours last week, our version of the Sixers, PHLY Sixers, behind-the-scenes footage. If you want to see that, got to become a member of the Supporters Club. You see that SC right there on the flag there in the middle? You get that SC. You see it next to your name in the chat. That means you're a member of the Supporters Club, the real ones. Yes, the official Supporters Club badge. You get that as well. You get access to some new and fresh emojis that are there also. Kyle is a member of the Supporters Club. Yes, he is. You should
support
be too.
Everyone here, not just myself.
Yes, you do. You get a badge next to your name in the live chat and comments. The badges update over time based on how long you've been a member, whether it's a month, 2 months, 6 months, 9 months, up to a year, whatever it is. You get a literal badge of honor in the Supporters Club. So join now, become one of the first with a long tenure, badges access, custom emojis to use in the chat and comments and more. Start with 4, you unlock a few more as you go along. You already have the super chats. This is the great next step. Supporters Club, make sure you get in there, sign up to become a Supporters Club member. Get the cool emoji and all that stuff. We have emojis for our faces that Bree shows all the time on the roll call. We have some emojis. Maybe, you get some cool emojis like that.
The more people that join, the more emojis I believe are unlocked.
Yes.
So.
Bree, do you
Something
have your
to
emoji,
think about.
Bree? Where's your facial emoji? Do you have it?
I don't got one.
There's a Bree face emoji. Oh,
I wish.
We gotta petition this to make sure we get this.
need
done.
like an evil Bree with.
All right, let's talk offensive end of the floor, Kyle. An X factor. And look, maybe it is Joel Embiid coming back.
Yeah,
this season.
I'm
only pointing that one out because the difference in which we may want to see it. That's all.
He's the X factor, but he's also the guy who will be the featured player if he's on the floor. So I feel like that one is a little unfair. I actually think it's Jared McCain is at least one of the guys in this conversation, because if he is as good as he looked for that 15-ish game stretch last year, or even like within the ballpark of that, you essentially go into the year saying, even when Tyrese Maxey is off the floor, we have a guy that's the lead guard that we feel great about, right? That he can bend defenses with the shot. You trust him as a decision maker. He's also a smart off-ball player. So when you're putting the ball in the hands of a Quentin Grimes or a VJ Edgecombe, or even if it's, hey, Maxey's on the bench and it's the Joel show, you can see some of the DHO and two-man game that Joel has historically had a lot of success running with the JJs, the Seth Currys, and obviously with Tyrese Maxey.
Ben
certainly.
Simmons.
Yeah, Ben's. Don't you even start with me.
Nick's
today,
not Landry
sir.
Shamet, so there you go.
But so if you
One less
can,
team.
if you can come close to getting 48 minutes of high-level guard play, that's a just huge swing factor for this team. I think the other obvious one is Paul George, though, right? Paul George is a name that we don't have to treat him like he's going to be on any all-star teams.
This is
or
why you
all-star
have to take one, man. You
candidacies.
can't have two. We got to talk about.
No, we're going to talk
we gotta
about
spread
both
some
of them.
names around.
But
here.
McCain is the one I'd really focus on, right? Because we saw all the good stuff.
Yes.
But we only saw 23 games of it.
Yeah.
And he's coming off of an injury. It's going to be a much more crowded team where I think the season in some ways worked to his advantage, where he just got to go out there and it's like, Jared, it's your time, right? You don't really have to worry about sharing the ball with people on some of these nights. You just go out there and play free, and you're going to play 30 plus minutes. I don't know what his role is going to look like this year. So if he comes out and plays the way he did last year, it'll be undeniable. He'll be on the floor. But there could be some nights where he might get 15, 20 minutes, and he's really got to shine in those 15, 20 minutes. So I think he's a pretty big swing piece for this team on the offensive end.
Yeah. No, I mean, Jared was where my mind first went to. And it's a lot because...
maybe I should have talked about Paul then, Devon. I don't know. It sounds like Derek was in the same place.
Which is weird. I feel like I'm agreeing with Kyle too much on today's show.
But you were nice to me yesterday. We're agreeing today. What the hell's happening?
I'm getting soft here in my old age. He's the type where, yes, he can run that offense when Tyrese is out. And we've spoken earlier in the summer, or at least I've spoken, that I do want him to be that primary ball handler when Tyrese is on the bench. But also, he's just so adaptable. He can be, if you've got VJ and maybe Paul out there and you're forcing turnovers and getting out in the break, he can be an elite transition shooter. It's one of the things he was really confident in at Duke. He showed it a lot last year, in 23 games. But he can play off of Joel, at least theoretically. He didn't get a chance to do that much last year, but you could see that skill set fitting. It's one that has historically fit very well. He can play in a two-guard lineup. He can his shooting and his movement shooting and the diversity of his shot and the on-ball equity that he showed last year that was a little bit surprising. It is just something that can pop in almost every kind of lineup and in multiple different roles. So if he is adding that and holding up, the weird thing is like him being a swing player on offense is going to rely a lot on his defense holding up, and specifically his defense next to Tyrese Maxey holding up. It's like one of those where like the key to someone becoming a defensive player of the year candidate was to be good enough offensively to stay on the floor. Like that was their key development, even though it was on the other side of the court. For Jared, it's a little bit like the inverse of that, where like he needs to show that he can be, viable defensively next to Tyrese. And if that happens, then that offensive profile and skill set and diversity can really shine. And I believe in the offense to a probably irrational degree. I think what he showed last year, it was only 23 games. We've said that before, but there's just not many guards who do what he did over that stretch of time turn out to be frauds. Like I think that skill set is real. I think he's going to figure it out. To me, if his defense holds up, then I think his offense is going to pop and he will be one of the swing players.
Mine is Paul George. Because
and the truth comes out. Damon said, damn it, that was my guy.
Because you bring him in here, no one's asking him to come in and average 27 or 25 anymore like he used to. It's coming in and just being a consistent offensive weapon where that outside shot that you guys focus on so much and written about so much last year at allphly.com because it wasn't falling. But Derek, when he had that month that you always highlight, he was Paul George, the offensive player, where you saw it from the stat line across the board where he was that player again. And of course, it all drives and starts with the health. But if he's out there, those shots do have to fall. And those passes that he makes, fine with that. The aggression that we saw in that first game against the Phoenix Suns when he came back after hurting himself in the preseason, as frustrated as we were with what he did at the end of the game, his numbers weren't great, but we saw the aggressiveness. I think he was like 4 for 14 shooting the basketball that day. He was driving. We knew it was going to be a tough game because it was his first game back and getting used to that bone bruise.
It's like, when is the first make going to come? I remember thinking during the middle of that game.
Right. And then Tyrese gets hot and he takes that final shot. You get it, but it was the aggressiveness that we did like. And we said, okay, we didn't like it that one right there, but make sure you bring that back when it's needed. And you desperately need that Paul George because we don't know. We still don't know how many games he's going to play, but we also don't know how many games Joel Embiid is going to play. But the one thing that we do know that we did not get a chance to see enough of a season ago was that trio being out there on the floor and looking like they had really good cohesion out there. And it's something that they kept talking about and hammering all season long because Embiid only played 19, only 41 for Paul George. They didn't really get a chance to show us how good they could be as a trio and what that would look like as a focal point of offense. So Paul George has to be good next season offensively in order for a lot of that stuff.
That's a scary thought, man.
And it shouldn't be.
It shouldn't. You're absolutely right. It shouldn't be.
It should not be.
But after last year.
Shouldn't be a lot to ask.
Yeah,
well, I was
point.
just thinking back. I like to give you guys some grief for your Coach of the Year predictions from last year, but I always think back to mine. I was
Buddy,
like,
I'm going to go into some of your predictions,
I was just
man.
going to make fun of one of my predictions. One of mine was that those trio would have like a plus 18 net rating or something like that, and I think they came out like right even.
I said they were going to average like 80 together
my
as
goodness.
a trio.
Oh, I do remember. Yeah.
Yeah, and not even close. He
I mean,
has to be good.
I think one of mine was like the Suns would have a top 5 offense. So we really want to. I was like, Coach Bud, baby.
Hey, man, get
all
ready.
that firepower.
Here we go.
Yeah. Oh, best offense in the league. Wasn't even top 5. Man.
That is cold, Bree. That is cold.
Nice work, Bree. That's right. That's right.
Those are some funny ones. Man.
That's some good stuff. Hey,
I was a
get
year
ready.
early. I did what I hate that basketball media does with the Magic last year, where I was a year early. Now this year,
Oh my God.
they're going to be everyone's like consensus
you're
number
backing
3,
off.
and I'm going to be like, yeah, well, that's like the consensus opinion now. So I'm going to be like total hipster mode.
But you were a year ahead of them,
well,
so it's all good.
I'm ahead of my time.
You are
That's
ahead
all.
of your time.
The other guy I would throw in the mix here in terms of the offensive X factor, I do think is Watford, right? Because we don't know how big of a role he's going to have. Frankly have no idea
No
what his
clue.
role is going to look like for this team. But he's such an interesting player at that size with his passing vision, the ability to put it on the floor. And it's not clear to me how it translates. I've said that many times this off season, because how he was used in Brooklyn, I don't think that's how he's going to be used in Philadelphia. And so you circle back to some of the pre-draft questions like, hey, this guy operates as a star, but I don't know that he can be a star, was kind of the thought going into his draft year. And I don't know that he's disproven that, but if he can do at least some of that stuff off the bounce and play make and just do more connective passing, right? We talked about the interior big to big or 4 to 5 type passing between if it's him and Joel, him and Bona, him and Drummond. If he is a short roll guy where Maxey, McCain, VJ get trapped and he's got a 4-on-3 and he can attack that. Like, I think he's a guy who can open some things up. I do generally trust him as a decision maker. Like, I think he's a smart player on offense.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying he's going to be the difference between them being like, middle of the pack or a top 5 offense. But I think if he is on the up and up, if he's trending upward on offense, that's somebody who can take them from very good to, they're up against the elite, maybe, if he is a success story this year.
Yeah.
Well, I would agree with that too, is when you guys bring up McCain, he's also going to be Watford a big part of the second unit.
Yeah.
So in order to keep that offense humming when that second unit is out there, as you said at the top, he got a lot of firepower. But if he can come in and be a sustainable figure on that second unit, where we always talk about, look at the difference when Embiid is on the floor versus off, not just at the 5, but what they do overall as a team, he's going to be a big part of that.
Mm-hmm.
And getting things under control with those young guys as well, because Jared McCain, we have a lot of faith in, but he still only played 23 games. VJ Edgecombe is a rookie. You're going to need somebody that can, hey, guys, it's okay. We got this. Calm down. And give me the rock at the top. I'll set things up. And Jared McCain is coming off these screens, or VJ Edgecombe is doing what he's doing, coming off some pin down and getting them in the right spot, making those right pocket passes, those connective passes. He's not a selfish player. He's really unselfish. And those high-low passes that we see with some of those bigs, whether it's Embiid, Bona, Drummond, whomever it may be, he's going to be huge for that second unit to keep whatever pressure that the first unit is rolling.
Mm-hmm.
All right, let's get the second unit guys in there. And we're like, what happened? Well, no, maybe he doesn't. Maybe he's the one that also can just help keep things going and keep it in a positive way while he's out there on the floor. So I'm very curious to see that, where that fits in. Anybody else offensively? Since Kyle
No, I
gave-
mean, my second one, it's a boring answer, but it would have been Paul.
Okay.
Just getting, first of all, just making shots when you're the third or fourth
Boring
option.
and correct is kind of your thing.
I mean, in so many different ways, in so many different aspects
You're right,
of my
Kyle.
life.
That's a good thing. I'd
You're
rather
right.
be boring and correct than
Well,
exciting and wrong all the
I
time,
mean, as
which is
Bree-
more my brain.
As Bree just showed, I can be boring and wrong too. But I think if he actually is that spot up shooter that he has historically been throughout his career, and especially the last couple of years. Now he's not going to have, James Harden creating shots for him, but there's a pretty good group of people here to draw double teams and create open looks. He should make more shots. That should help when he is that third or fourth option. And occasionally scaling up and being a second option. Like if he can do that and get back to just a semblance of what he was with the Clippers, that just makes everything, slide into place a lot easier.
I give one. And it's like a 50-50 thing because you want him defensively to be able to hold up in year 2 and then knock down the shots and then put the ball on the floor when you knock down those shots for the closeout. Justin Edwards.
Yeah.
Depending on whatever minutes it looks like, 12 minutes, 10 minutes, 18 minutes.
Yeah.
But he has to, like the fifth starter, as Kyle talks about often. We saw Jermaine Jones hit shots. We saw Jermaine Jones make a play. But when he comes out, of course, we know who's coming in, Aaron McKee. Aaron McKee's going the rest of the way. But when you're in there for that 5 minutes before that substitution has happened, you play your part. And you don't make mistakes while you're out there. And that's where I think Justin Edwards is that 50-50 guy on both ends where he could be really important for what they do with the substitutions that are made whenever he's out there for the things that they ask of him, which is the outside shooting and can he defend and hold up man on man when there's space where he doesn't get
think
beat
the
too
defensive part is where I'm probably focusing in on Justin because I think what we saw in Summer League, not that Summer League is ultra meaningful, is that he is best suited in the fifth starter type role or fifth guy on the floor type role where he takes the open shot, makes a quick decision. If not, swing the ball, don't overcomplicate it. His ability to scale up and down defensively and offer some versatility is going to be a big key to staying on the floor for him. Because I think Nurse generally believes in him on both ends, but there's not a lot of belief you need to do. Like if a guy hits shots, a guy hits shots. Like that's kind of a binary. What he's going to be judging Justin on now is like, all right, what type of assignments can I put you on? If you're going to replace Kelly's minutes, which I think that'll be some sort of conversation this year, how do those two weigh against one another? A lot of what Justin needs to do is prove I can get near or not necessarily all that close to, I can get closer to where Kelly is at in the defensive pecking order and the defensive like trust rankings for Nick Nurse, because the trade-off is he's a more reliable shooter than Kelly is.
Yes.
So if you can get in the ballpark defensively, it makes his case to be a regular player and frankly, sometimes spot starter even a lot cleaner if he's a better, more consistent defender this year.
Real fast. Anywhere with Quentin Grimes because of going back?
Yeah, the X factor is will he be on the team?
Yeah, well, that too. Assuming
will
he
he
is on
sign
the
a
team.
contract?
But going back from no longer being that first, second option back into more of a role guy, fifth starter, but we know he can score. But he's also going to have to dial it back a bit because are you going to be good with what your role is and where you're getting these shots from, which is totally different from where you were a season ago. I'd imagine if Embiid and Paul George are out there, you'd be okay because you know the ball is going to swing to you and find you, and you're going to get some good looks. But he is going to have to go back to that natural role of what Quentin Grimes we expect from him.
Oh, I think the key there is we've already seen him do that.
Yeah.
This is not a guy who, like, let's say he was more of a Cam Thomas type of player, your favorite guy.
Yes.
A guy who has been on bad teams and just had on the neon green light, you just shoot, do whatever you want. That's not how his career has played out. Most of his career has been he's playing off of other people. And the unique thing that we saw was the scale up, carry the bad team efficiently, by the way, like was very good last year. That was more the outlier for his career. He's played off of, Luka Doncic, right? And he was playing pretty well, playing off of Luka before Dallas traded him and they had their whole reshuffling, we'll call it, last year. So I'm not a whole bunch worried about
Neither am
Quentin
I.
Grimes.
I just wanted to mention his name because we hadn't. And
I think it's more the
he's gonna be
contractual
important.
uncertainty, right? We've talked about if he takes the qualifying offer, how does Nick Nurse, and probably more importantly, how does the front office and the whole organization look at him in terms of the priority list? If you sign him for 4 for $70, that's a guy who's going to almost certainly start and probably get the opportunity to close games unless someone is materially better than him.
Mm-hmm.
If he takes the qualifying offer, I think as an organization, you make the argument, maybe we should just start VJ right away. Like just throw him into the fire and say, it starts now. We're going to develop this guy from day one. So that I think matters a little bit, but I don't worry a whole lot about he's going to bring what he brings. And I feel pretty good about what he brings to the table.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think to Kyle's point, like he has succeeded in that 4th, 5th option role before, just because he got a taste of being a first option in March of nonsense basketball last year. I don't think he's like lost that skill set. Like I think he'll be a reliable spot up shooter. He'll attack a closeout. I think he will fill that role well. It's just, is he going to sign a contract? Is he going to sign a contract that makes him in the Sixers' long-term plans and allows you to feature him? Or is he signaling that he is only here for a short time? We'll get that answer in a couple weeks, but none of us know now. Otherwise, we would be doing a show about that.
All right, fun conversation.
Come on, Quentin. Come on.
About offense, defense, and the Sixers and what's going to help their success this season. Really fun conversation and curious to see how it all plays out. We'll find out here in about, starting with some preseason games in about a month.
Media day in like 2 weeks.
Less than a month for their first game,
man.
October 2nd on a Thursday, by the way, everybody. So
a long way away from here also. Abu Dhabi.
All right, let's get to just a quick news and notes. And Bree had some graphics. We did this before as far as Kyle railing on how the schedule looks for the television schedule of what it looks like.
Worried. We're saving Kawhi chat, right? We don't have enough time to get into the newest.
Unless you want to overtime.
We'll Friday. Yeah. That's a Friday topic.
All right, we'll do that later. But we know the schedule. Well, we don't know the schedule. We've seen how the schedule is going to be from NBC and Peacock and ESPN and all that stuff, ABC. But then Adam Silver yesterday speaking.
Oh.
Yes.
I'm already mad in advance.
Yeah, so Adam Silver talking about affording streaming services to watch NBA games. You can still watch free highlights. Calling it a highlight sport. If you don't have enough money to afford all the streaming services now that they're in all the Prime and all of that, Peacock, if you don't have it, and so on and so forth. But you can watch free highlights to get a good idea of what happened for your favorite team's game that you were maybe unable to watch, or checking in on Minnesota to see what Anthony Edwards did. Free highlights is what you can now have because they're still there, Derek.
Can you push us into overtime so I can have some words I'd like to say?
Yeah, so Derek, you start first.
I mean, I'm largely just going to cede the floor to Kyle here. Like, I'll filibuster for the next minute and a half just so that we can get to overtime. Look. Streaming.
Should we talk about ketchup smoothies for a minute and a half?
Ketchup smoothies might be more appetizing than Adam Silver's comments.
God.
No, I mean, look, it is like the streaming cost is a legit concern. The, highlight package is not how you want to grow fans of basketball. And it just seemed like a very flippant, dismissive response. And quite frankly, just not one that seems like it's in the best interest of his sport. Like, you want as much people paying you money and watching full games as you can possibly get. Like, your entire revenue is built off of these national TV deals that require people to actually watch, so advertisers pay you money.
Now, he did say, of course, that there are free games that you can watch on television, but you still need NBA TV to watch.
You brought up the watch guy
that
I almost had a stroke looking at.
The NBA TV you can watch. There be, ABC games, but you have to get to a certain part of the season to watch those. Will be free on the broadcast television that he's saying. But not everybody has cable either to have ESPN and in the past TNT to watch those games. Now you do have to go and search and find ways to watch these games. So the highlights, saying that is not necessarily going to make your fan base happy after making all the changes that you did after the end of last season, going into this season with that whole list that Bree brought up there of how to watch games in the broadcast schedule. That's not going to help anything out. So now we got to go into overtime. so we can get to Kyle. AllPHLY.com. So on
I
the
don't
TV
even have
side,
tons to say. It's just
on the TV side, if you want to see this and hear this, you got to go to AllPHLY.com. Thank you on the Fast channel for everyone who could watch. And we'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. for the PHLY Sixers podcast.
We have legitimately gotten to the point there where we need to like bundle all of these streaming services together, maybe even call them cable and just have them under one subscription because it's just getting too goddamn expensive.
We have multiple televisions out in our office. Many of you have been here and seen it. We will have the Sixers on in the middle. And if we want to keep an eye on the others, we're going to try to have to figure out ways to find the channels on the other.
all right. So all I really have to say about this is fucking Marie Antoinette running the NBA, giving people his version of like let them eat cake, right? Which also I think it might be a myth that she actually said that. For anyone who wants to investigate Marie Antoinette on a random September 11th, feel free to go do so yourself. But like, what the fuck is this guy doing? You are the head of the NBA. When you see after all the TV stuff is laid out and your schedules come out, people are putting together graphics of it's going to cost an exorbitant amount of money for, the average Joe Smith, John Q, whatever generic name you want to use, to watch their team in their market all 82 games. And they're pissed off about it. Rightfully so, right? People have limited ways that they want or can spend their money. They don't want to have to pay hundreds of dollars just to follow their NBA team a month. That's an unreasonable thing to ask anyone to do. And this fucking guy at a press conference is like, well, they can watch highlights on YouTube. Like, that's not what people are asking for. Your job as the commissioner of the NBA is to serve the audience and to make sure that you are maximizing the amount of people can get access to your product. So not just they continue to consume it, but they pass that down to their kids, to other friends, to family. Like, you want the sport to grow. And largely under Adam Silver, the sport has grown in terms of international and all this other stuff. And that's all well and good. You don't have to give a concrete answer for like, oh, I'm going to solve this, right? He could have sat there and been like, yeah, it's obviously we're always working to deliver some bullshit corporate response, the best possible product for the most affordable price to our fans. We're actively talking with all our league partners on this. And that's all you have to say. To say like, well, they can watch highlights on Instagram is like, okay, you fucking boomer. Like, what are you talking about? Anyway.
And it really is like this, there is no argument that this benefits the fan.
No.
It's purely, we can get as many companies as possible paying us money for national TV games, and we need to bleed the customers dry. That's it. That's the only justification for it.
It's ridiculous.
It's not good. And saw somebody say this is his worst moment as a commissioner. He's been attacked a lot for some things that he has done since taking over for David Stern. Saying that, something as simple as that, and then I saw other people saying, well, maybe you need to go look at the whole clip. No, this was not good, period, to say something like that about your fan base. Not everybody wants to go to YouTube to watch whatever highlights.
And we thank all the wonderful people who come to YouTube to watch us.
For us, not highlights.
Yes.
Yes. You don't want to do that. You don't want to go to Instagram and Twitter just for the highlights. You want to watch full games where you watch the full games. You want to watch the full shows here from us on YouTube. Yes, you do. But you don't want to watch NBA highlights in that way.
Also, low key, the highlights have gotten worse because everyone's just taking 53s a game. The highlights are all the same. Oh my God, the 10th guy tonight hit a 35-foot pull-up three. Amazing. Mm-hmm. 7 other people did. Like,
how much is League Pass? Like 179?
It depends on the. So also, I normally get League Pass through. I use YouTube TV, which I enjoy as a service. But now I'm in the position where I'm like, should I stay with YouTube TV?
You can't get it through YouTube TV anymore.
You can't get League Pass through YouTube TV. So I'm like, do I stay with it? Because now I got to have Peacock. Yeah. And Peacock, they have the RSN, I believe, add-on that I can get. But then I'm losing YouTube TV DVR features and a lot of other things I like. And I also got to pay for Amazon. At least for us, I can just be like, hey, I go to my accountant and say, that's a business expense, right? And that's that is a business expense because that's all I'm using it for. But the average person is going to look at that and be like, why would I bother? Why wouldn't I just search for some streaming site where I'm not endorsing that, but
Theo
people are
said
gonna turn to it.
149. Okay, so I was a little high when I said 179, 175, or whatever. 149. I think for the first week you get it for free. The very first week they give it to you for free.
And they do run lots of promos.
Yeah,
too,
but
throughout
that's
the
like
season.
after Christmas, I think.
But you still have local blackouts, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
good
anyway,
times. Good times.
I did not appreciate those comments from the commissioner. I think he's a much smarter person than that clip makes him look and sound like.
Yeah. Shouldn't have said that, guy. Shouldn't have said that. All right.
Shouldn't have said that. That's
Got some things to say to all of you people out there. We got to thank you for watching the show today.
Yes, indeed.
Here on YouTube.
And by the way, maybe if more people subscribe to a supporters club, maybe there's a roll call emoji.
Time for the roll call, everybody.
Maybe
It's the world
maybe there's a
famous.
special
And
emoji
you can get one of
on YouTube chat.
Maybe,
but who's to say?
maybe.
You gotta support the supporters club. Help me, help you. Thank you, everyone. I'll give a special shout out to today. We were actually at a team lunch over in Fishtown.
We have some things to discuss amongst ourselves.
Over at shout out to Middle Child Clubhouse, wonderful spot over there. And we ran into Brian, who saw us, said hello, and said, "Hey, I'm a listener of the show." And you're like, "Hey, that's great." Like, obviously, I'd take it at face value, but he turned his phone around and was like, "No, I'm right now listening to the show." So thank you to Brian for the wonderful support and not having to lie to us about, "Oh, hey, I know you from Twitter. I listened to the show." That's a real deal supporter. We love that from Brian. We love all of you who make us a part of your daily routine. So thank you to Brian. I know Nona's always like, "Hey, I'm on the train. I'm in the gym, wherever." We got people, I won't name names. People in here like, "Hey, I'm listening at work," and people can hear Kyle because he's so goddamn loud. So thank you to everybody who's here, but definitely thank you to Habib, to my girl Nona, to Sean Ford, to Yams, to Win Forever, to B Knight.
Gotta win forever.
Jess with the Purple Heart. Hinky, who said the Clippers are going down. We are definitely talking about the latest developments.
Oh, yes.
Clipper saga tomorrow. Just a story for another day. Joaquin from Cherry Hill. Jerome Evans.
What up, Rome?
Martian Lynch. Smy Guy. Theo. X-Man. Aaron.
Gotta throw it up, X.
Marcus Blackstock.
What up, Mark?
Whew. Igavini.
What up, Igavini?
Will. My guy Will.
Willie Will.
Say what?
Say what?
What
Adam
did
Silver?
we say?
What did
Adam
you say,
Silver.
Adam
Say
Silver?
what?
What did you say?
Come on, man.
Come on, Adam.
Again, if I thought he was a dummy, I'd just be like, "Wow, there's Bozo at it again." But he's a lot smarter than that. And I didn't like his comments about the Clippers either. Very dismissive about that whole thing, only for Pablo to come in today and say,
"Guess what?
I got another one." Thank you to everybody who's here today. Even if you are a silent lurker, we still love you. All the supporters out there.
We appreciate
Lauren
it.
Michaels in Studio 8H watching with Keenan.
Lauren, we keep telling you, even though the summer's over, we are ready.
I saw a big shakeup at SNL Studios. You better get it right, Lauren.
Lauren, we know some people over there, man.
Thank
Come
you,
on,
everyone,
Lauren.
for being here today. We'll be back tomorrow at 3 p.m. for our last show of this week. On the way out, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell icon so we get notifications each and every time we go live. And please hit the thumbs up button to say thank you, super producer Bree, holding it down, making the graphics, the cutaways, the transitions, all the different things. She's the best.
She's the best.
She's as much a part of the show as we are. So thank you to Bree. Thank you to all of you. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then, stay safe. Take care of one another. Goodbye.
See ya.
We all silly like the mayor.